Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's edition of the Client Enrichment Series, eRETA Digest. My name is Eric Fulton. I'm a Client Relationship Manager in the Public Building Services Office of Client Strategy. But more importantly, I am your host for today's session. Today, we are talking all things eRETA, and that stands for External RWA Entry and Tracking Application. eRETA and digital signatures are the mandatory method of submitting work requests and RWA information to us here at GSA, and the application gets a good amount of use. Did you know eRETA processes approximately 15,000 RWA transactions every year, and that's at a value in excess of $2 billion on behalf of 330 federal agencies and bureaus. It's quite a bit. So, as I said, this is our eRETA Digest training. So it covers everything from how to gain access to how to complete amendments, how to correct for errors. And so whether you are a new or experienced user, we've got content for you here today. And we are all in good hands because our presentation will be led by Rachel Bixel, the RETA Systems Lead and Product Owner in the Office of Client Strategy's Reimbursable Services branch. Rachel has been with GSA for nearly 20 years, beginning her career working closely with our customers as a project manager before becoming an integral part of the Reimbursable Services team. Rachel is located in the windy city of Chicago, Illinois, and is a self-proclaimed nerd who loves bar trivia and video games, and I take offense to being called a nerd for liking those things myself, Rachel. Before we begin, I do want to share just a few housekeeping instructions. We've automatically muted everybody's audio. That allows us to control the volume and the sound quality of the presentation. There is a chat pod as well as a Q&A pod enabled on Zoom. There are two different pods for two different purposes. If you have a problem with the audio of today's presentation, a technical question, need the slide deck, that's what the chat pod is for. A member of our Client Enrichment Series team will get right on that and assist you. We do have the Q&A pod, and that is for questions related to our subject today, eRETA, RWA's reimbursable services. So if you have a question for our presenter and the subject matter experts who are joining us, please use the Q&A pod. The reason for that is we will be able to answer those questions during the session, and we'll be able to export them after the session and get to any of those questions that we didn't get to answer during the session today. Once again, if you have a question about the technical aspect of this presentation, you're having difficulty seeing or hearing the presentation, let us know in the chat pod. If you have a question for Rachel or any of the RWA team members that are with us today, please put that in the Q&A pod. We very much appreciate that. As with every CES session, we post downloadable PDF of frequently asked questions, the Q&A that we get during this session on our website, www.gsa.gov/CES. And the eRETA RWA team has a comprehensive website with archived data going back several years of these presentations that can help you with any questions and answers that you might have. That's www.gsa.gov/eRETA, E-R-E-T-A. You will hear those URLs quite a few times today. So with that out of the way, I do want to go over today's agenda quickly, and then we're going to get into a couple of poll questions, and then we will begin the presentation. So as I mentioned, this is going to be start to finish all things eRETA. We're going to start by going over the basics of the website and access, process. Then we're going to get into work requests, creating and tracking a work request. And then it starts to get a little real. We talk about submitting funding and work coming in RWA. We're going to help you identify and troubleshoot common errors, talk about signing the RWA. I mentioned digital signatures earlier, and then discuss RWA amendments and input codes. And we are going to leave everyone here today with a robust list of contacts for more information, and of course, a last call, and we may pull some Q&A out to discuss among the group. So with that out of the way, I now want to begin to get to know our audience a little bit better with a couple of poll questions. So there are going to be two poll questions that are on the slide deck, and there will be a pop-up accompanying. If you're unable to use the pop-up, you can certainly answer within the chat. And for poll question one, we want to know what areas are you most interested in? And you can choose all that apply, whether it's gaining access to eRETA, submitting a new work request, performing a search in eRETA, uploading documents, amending an existing RWA, or other. Once again, you can choose 1, 2, 3, or all of those responses. I'll give everyone a moment. We have results coming in. Thank you very much. It looks like most people, I should say, not most, but the highest vote getter here is amending an existing RWA that is already part of our agenda today. That's great. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the second most vote getter is submitting a work request. So we have kind of the beginning and the end of the process here. And then we have an equal distribution among the others of folks who want to know how to gain access to eRETA. We'll get to that momentarily, performing a search in eRETA and then uploading documents. So all of these items are things that we will get to over the course of today. So that's good news. And we'll jump over to the second poll question. All right, and we want to know what access you currently have to eRETA. There are two different types of access. There's a data entry user, and then there's a read-only user. And then if you don't have an eRETA user ID yet, we want to know that as well. So as you could expect, data entry and read-only perform vastly different functions. One of them has far more functionality than the other. I'll let you guess which one that is. All right. I think I'm pretty delighted to say that we are joined by a lot of data entry users. In fact, it looks like we have over 130 folks who are with us today are data entry users, by far the majority of who responded to the poll. So that's great. I assume that means you may have some knowledge of working with eRETA, and you might have some very specific questions. We have our read-only users represented as well, but we also have some folks who don't yet have an eRETA user ID. And if that is something that you want to have for the function of your job, you're in good hands because we're going to take you through that entire process. All right, we're going to close the poll out of the way. I am going to step aside. Thank you all once again for joining us today, and I am pleased to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Rachel. Rachel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Start there.
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you. All right, let's get started. So for those of you who have not created an eRETA account yet, or are curious about how to maybe change your account, here we are. So that process is submitting an online form via Smartsheet. So we've got a link on our website. It's going to automatically route to your supervisor for approval. So we need to confirm that you have the right access, that you're allowed to have this kind of access. And then it's going to result in an email coming to you with instructions on how to link up in the system with login.gov. Once you are granted access, you're going to visit this link. So that is the link you want to use. It's also available on our website at www.gsa.gov/eRETA. We've got some training materials available as well on that eRETA website. It's got the videos, it has past training sessions, it's got the slides, it has quick tips and user guides. And that user guide is very helpful. It's got a lot of screenshots in it for every step of the process, even more than what we've got in this training deck itself. And then if you need help, policy and FAQs are on the gsa.gov/RWA website, which really is kind of the same website as the eRETA website. It's all there. And then more contact assistance here, and we'll have a whole list at the end. Again, gsa.gov/eRETA is where you want to go. I mentioned login.gov. I want to stress that for just a second. Login.gov will be the way that you log into RETA. So if you don't have a login.gov profile established yet for your government email address, you should get that set up. I imagine most people have it for one of the government applications. But if you don't, please use the same email account that you used to sign into RETA, that you registered for eRETA, with your login.gov account. So those two account email addresses should be the same. And if you've already got access just yesterday, you probably received this email. If you didn't receive this email, you have access, you probably have signed up for eRETA more recently, and so we're not making you recertify. But for the most part, existing users are going to have received this email yesterday. It is not spam. The survey, despite it being a survey, is really kind of a mandatory recertification form. So please click the link. It's right down here. Not this one. This one's if you have to recertify or have questions. But please click this link to take that poll to say, yes, I still need access to eRETA, and that'll give you access for the next year. Then a little about the future. We have not talked about G-invoicing in the past, and you may be very familiar with G-invoicing. You may have no idea what G-invoicing is. If you want more information about G-invoicing, I would recommend Googling it. It is a treasury system for government-wide invoicing. So it is the system that Treasury wants all government agencies to use to record orders and billing and settlement. It is a behemoth, and I'm sure if you know about it already, you know that it's been so exciting to work with. GSA is gradually rolling out implementation for G-invoicing, and RETA and RWAs are kind of some of our last because there are a lot of updates that we need to make to our systems in order to do that. So in FY27, we're going to start with the 7600 EZ, and that is going to be recording billing and settlement only. So GSA will be using the 7600 EZ process. And again, if you have no idea what that is, that's okay. It won't impact you in the short term, and for the most part, unless you're a finance person, you might not know anything about this in the long term, and that's all right too. In the future, GSA does intend to do seller facilitated orders, and we will begin doing the 7600B, but that's going to be in a few more years. Regardless of when this is, we do intend for customers to continue using eRETA to establish work requests and enter RWA information. So the overall intent is to continue to use eRETA. So everything you see today will be the same going forward. I will even give you a preview into some of our 7600 EZ enhancements in the system right now, because we're going to go into our test system where we've already been programming things. So you're going to see a little preview of what it's going to look like next year. Okay, basic RWA process. We are going to get into the standard system features and the way to search and pull reports. So this is good if you're trying to research things. We're going to start with the overall process. So overall process of work request to RWA, and I say that specifically because a work request becomes an RWA. So it's the same document that just gets a lot more detail as it goes along. So the first step is pre-planning. And so the customer, you guys, are going to enter a work request into the eRETA system, and it's just basic information. You're going to save that. When you save it, and you haven't submitted it yet, it's going to be sitting with you as a customer for pre-planning, for debate among your agency, whether you want project A or project B, whether you really intend to move forward with this one or that one. It's for you to kind of run through your own portfolio planning. Once you've decided, yes, I would like GSA to be involved and I would like GSA to assign a project manager and begin to work with me, then you would send that work request to GSA and the status would become unassigned. So we go from pre-planning to unassigned. Unassigned means that GSA is working on assigning a project manager. You may have noticed that some of the projects that you've been sending in the last year are in that unassigned status as we are working through different workload management within our agency from the exciting changes that have happened in the last year. So unassigned means that GSA is working on assigning a project manager. Once we have assigned a project manager, you're going to get an email that notifies you who that PM is and instructs everyone to start working on scoping and estimating, etc. So scoping, estimating, creating schedules all happens outside of the eRETA system. So you're going to be having meetings with your project manager and they will provide you documentation. They will also eventually upload a lot of that documentation to eRETA directly. And the final step of planning is for you to enter your funding once it's available. So I want to pause there for a second and come to these notes over at the side. So for this whole part here, where we've got all the pre-planning and planning and estimating and scoping, you do not need to have funding available to submit that work request. We do not need to have funding available to work in the planning and estimate. You do need to have funding available when you send the funding to us to review and accept. So that funding does need to be available when the RWA is signed, but you do not need to have funding earmarked or identified when you submit a work request. So as we go through planning, you're going to fill out that funding, identify what Treasury account symbol you intend to fund the RWA with, send it to GSA. We're going to review all that information. We're going to add our own information, and then we're going to route it for signature. So we route it for digital signature via a system called DocuSign. It goes to you as a customer to sign first, then GSA signs, and then it becomes officially accepted when GSA sends an acceptance letter. So that's a really high-level overview of the process. I will put a plug in for a policy and process training, RWA policy and process training, that we will also be offering through the Client Enrichment series in the coming months. I believe we may even have a date for that. I'm sure my team can put that into the chat if that's available. But if you want to know more about the process and all the ins and outs of policy, you should definitely attend that training. It's very good. Yeah, show you that this slide exists. I'm not going to read through it, but essentially it gives you what the eRETA status is, where the pending action is, and I'll show you what pending action is in eRETA in a bit, and then what the next step is in the process. But this is a very handy slide for later. All right, some standard features of the system. Blue words. Anything blue and underlined is a hyperlink. So that means it's going to open up a glossary, and I'll show you this in the system. I'm going to deviate away from these slides in a little bit and actually go into the system and show you all of this in real time. So blue words are hyperlinks that open up a glossary that's going to tell you, oh gosh, what do I need to enter in this field? If you click the link, it'll open up and say, here's the kind of information you need to enter. Here's maybe where to go find it. And if you don't know something in a specific field and it has one of these little magnifying glasses, that gives you an option to do a drill down search. We'll show you that later. Red asterisk means that the field is required. You can always download any of your search results into an Excel file, which is super handy. When you're navigating, there's going to be different tabs. Sometimes they appear on the left, and sometimes they appear on the top, but these little blue boxes are different tabs to help navigate the different sections of a specific work request RWA. And then there's one more navigation element, the yellow links at the bottom. And those are going to navigate different views, essentially, of the information. So you'll see maybe financial review, which will give you the balance of an RWA, or the documentation section, which gives you all the uploaded PDFs and Excel files associated with it. ETN stands for estimate tracking number, and that's going to have the estimate information. And finally down here, edit mode and exiting edit mode. This is one we get a lot of questions on. How do you get into edit mode? If you have edit access, as to say, if you have data entry access, you will see an edit button. If you don't see an edit button, either you don't have data entry access or the RWA is not in a state where you're allowed to modify it. If you are already in edit mode, you're going to see something that says read-only view. That means you are currently editing the RWA. And if you click this, it would return to read-only view. So to edit, click the edit pencil. To return to read-only view, click read-only view. Okay, at this point, I am going to go into eRETA itself. These slides are going to be here for you. I'm going to try to make sure I hit on all the things that I have in the slides, but I want to show you in the actual system. So bear with me for a second as I start switching things around.
While Rachel's doing that, I will just take the opportunity to reiterate a few things in the chat. Thank you for your questions. Please remember to put any subject matter questions in the Q&A pod, not the chat. If you don't see a Q&A module at the bottom of your screen, click the three dots for more, and it should pop right up. This was also mentioned in the chat. We have the sibling presentation to eRETA Digest on RWA policy that will be on Wednesday, June 3rd. Our registration page for that will be open soon and everyone will be notified. So, Rach, I hope I bought you enough time to get into the back end of the system, but let me know if I need to vamp anymore.
That was perfect. Thank you. All right. And I'll confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, I am logged into our testing system. So when you log in, you're not going to log into our testing system. Obviously, you're going to come to our website. So this right here, I'm going to retype it, gsa.gov/eRETA. Simple as that. It's going to lengthen that URL, but you're going to get right to this customer portal page. So here, I'll zoom it in a bit. Here, if you need to log in, PBS portal right there. And if you don't have an account yet, request an account. And so it's just that link right below it, how to get access. Here's all the information and steps in order to do that. So in order to log in, you're going to come here, you're going to go to PBS portal. That is the link. It's going to take you to login.gov. And then you would get into eRETA. But I'm going to use our testing system so that I don't mess up any of the real RWAs in the system. So here you're going to see your login information. You'll see your user ID and the agency bureau codes that you have access to. I have access to a bunch of random ones as a test user, but you will have a finite list of agency bureau codes there. Then it's also going to say what kind of access you have. So here it tells me that I have data entry access. So that's on the landing page. I'm going to go to search. And I'm going to zoom out. I apologize for a little bit of zooming in and out. Bear with me. I just want to make sure you can see the entire screen. I'm going to be referring to my phone to the slides to make sure I get all the little bits and pieces. Okay, so first of all, up here, we have something called a pending action filter. This pending action filter indicates who is currently responsible for taking action to move a work request along to becoming an RWA. So it's a really easy way to search for things that require your action. I'm going to deselect and just select a couple of these. So if you were to select customer and then the agency bureau codes that you have access to and click search, I'm going to give you a list of all the things that are currently pending that are to you for action. And so if I open one of these, it's going to show me that is pending action from the customer. So we've got this cool little thing called the progress tracker over here. For new work requests in RWAs, it gives you what step it is in the system and who needs to take action. So this is signature requested customer. So currently this fake RWA is waiting on a signature. from our customer. Okay, so that is a fun little feature to be able to easily find something. Another great feature is this magnifying glass. So if you are looking for specific information anywhere in eRETA and you find this magnifying glass, you can use that to do a drill down search. So it's going to open a pop-up which gives you more information to search by. So you might not know what a building number is. I don't have the building numbers memorized, but I do know that one of the buildings that I'm looking for might be on Jackson Street in Chicago. And I can type those two things and click search, and it's going to give me all the buildings that we have in Chicago on Jackson Boulevard. Then I can select one of them, and it'll fill out the number. So that's going to work for all sorts of different areas. Another great feature of the search is that glossary. So there I just clicked on building number, and it's going to open up what that is. So for building number, it's a fairly simplistic code, a simplistic definition, 8-character code. But you can see this actually opens the entire glossary when you do that. So it's got information on everything. Whenever you click the glossary link, it's going to take you to that exact item. So that took me to fund type. It tells me all about the fund types. It tells me about everything that's in the system as a field that has a glossary definition. So if you don't know what kind of information you're supposed to put into this thing called BOAC, you can click BOAC and it's going to describe what a BOAC number is and where to get information for that. Okay. Ooh, another great field, customer ID. This one's sneaky. This one's a little sneaky trick field. So this field searches as kind of a keyword search for the brief project description and the the customer order number field. So if you need to search something and you're not quite sure how to find a specific scope of work, I'm just going to search floor and see what pops up. So it gives me a bunch of closed RWAs, so they're purged from the system, but I can still see that the scope is going to include something that says the word floor somewhere. 12th floor improvements. So it's not perfect, but it is a nice way to be able to search some information as a keyword. And then finally, the little person over here, that's going to fill in your information. So I'm logged in the test system again. So my name is external data entry user, but this would fill out with your email address if you clicked that, and then it would find anything that you had created or requested or edited. So if you want to find things that are associated with your account, you can simply click the little person icon there. Okay. I think I hit all those items. So let's look at the export. So now let's do a more interesting search than this. Let's look for non-severables, so project RWAs that are currently open. All open projects over $1 million. The right amount of zeros. And I'm just going to enter a really big 999 number there. So open RWAs over $1 million. It's going to give me all the things that are accepted or mod requested, etc. And now I can export that to an Excel file. So in our testing system, this particular export might not function quite properly, and I'm not going to bother opening up the Excel file for you. But what it will do is it'll give you this information and more. So it's a fairly lengthy file that will give you all sorts of, it doesn't want to save, but I'm not going to do it. that will give you all sorts of information about this list of RWAs. So it's a really great way to do research. There's a couple different searches in eRETA too. And so there's a couple different ways to export information. So if you were to go to the financial review search, this one's slightly different than the regular search. This gives you can look at, this gives you only RWAs that have been formally accepted, and so they have finances associated with them. This is the regular search is going to give you work requests, so it doesn't give you. I'm hovering over here, assuming you are seeing percent complete. So this does not exist here because work requests don't have a percent complete. That wouldn't apply, or percent obligated rather. So you can go maybe 40% to 90% obligated. And we're going to select all open and projects again. So here is going to give me things that have been 40% to 90% obligated, and it's going to show me financial information. That initial one was more basic information about each project. This one is financial information. And so likewise, you can also export it to an Excel file. Okay, I'm going to take a real quick pause and make sure there's nothing pressing in all of the questions or chat. And drink some water.
Things are quiet on the chat front. If any of the eRETA subject matter experts see anything in the Q&A, feel free to chime on in. Otherwise, we can slowly move forward with the rest of the presentation.
Okay, great. I'm just making sure that I hit all the highlights here. So I went through all of the information. Oh, you know, one of the things that I did not touch on, less is more when searching. So if you are searching for information, I showed you all these complicated ways to search. You know what the easiest way to search is? Enter the RWA number. That 7-digit number that you get when you create a work request, that sticks with the document the whole way through. So you can always search by that RWA number. So let me highlight something that is maybe, that would give you, so we've got a building in DC here. And I'm gonna say, I want but the buildings in Chicago. I want projects in Chicago, but with this building for DC. It's gonna give me nothing, no records found. So if you have information that conflicts in the system, or you're trying to enter too many fields, it's going to return no result. So if you're looking for something specific, we highly recommend that you only search by the RWA number. That is going to be the best way to find your work request or RWA. Okay. Showed the drop-down search, showed exporting, fantastic. Okay, we are going to get into how to create a work request. Up here, first of all, you have to have data entry access. And then you will see data entry up here. And we're going to create work request. That is going to open up this screen with a bunch of blanks on it. So you'll notice right away that there's no work request number. There's no information. That won't be filled in until you actually hit save. So in order to enter information, I'm going to start with just some info that I've memorized here. I know the building number, but again, if you didn't know what building it was, you can hit the search. And we always like that you enter the building number. If you don't know it, you can just enter the city and state and an address, but we love when you enter the building number. I'm going to put in a request category. So this list is different types of projects or services. If you don't know what to enter, you're going to click the little blue link that's going to explain what each item is. For the most part, non-severable is projects, severable overtime utilities is overtime utilities, severable cleaning and maintenance is cleaning and maintenance, landscaping, etc. PBS OCAS stuff. We see some customers requesting OCAS, and it's not correct. Please keep in mind that if you are trying to request something for PBS OCAS, that it is in a delegated facility, so you are managing that facility yourself, and you intend to provide all contract documents, and you intend to provide all project management services and contract oversight services. So this is a very specific category for a very specific set of customers. For the most part, you're up here. These are the ones you're picking. And it explains it all in that little blurb. So we're going to do a project. We're going to enter the fiscal year needed. This is going to indicate approximately when you think you're going to move forward with this project. If you're looking at the current fiscal year, you want this done as soon as possible, you say current. If you know that I'm not going to do this project until 2028, that will help GSA prioritize this work when assigning project managers. So we're going to click current. You're also going to give us an estimated amount. This amount is your best guess. This does not have to be exact. It's totally fine if you have no idea. Just take a guess. This helps us route it to the right group to manage the work. If you guess low and it really is much higher, we'll figure it out later. It's totally fine if you don't know. Just put in a best guess. It'll help us get it to the right people. So for what I'm going to do, I think it's going to be more than 50 grand. I'm going to put in a customer, and Victoria, if you're on the line, thank you for lending your name. I tend to pick on you a lot, I think. All right, so description of requirements. We are going to do a space refresh for a new judge. To include carpet, paint, and lighting upgrades for a chamber through the design guide. We're going to put a time frame on it too, and a room number. Much information as you have. What we want to get at here is you don't have to know the exact scope of work when you submit a work request. That's what GSA is going to help you with. But the more information you have, the faster it's going to get to the right people, the faster we're going to be able to figure out exactly what you need. And before the RWA is accepted, this description of requirements will need to be updated by you. You'll have to put in more detail later. So as much as you can identify up front, the better. So we put in what it is. So the intent, our intent is that we're preparing a space for a new judge. The content, we're doing carpet paint and lighting. That's the type of things that we're doing, and the extent of the work. So we're doing it in room 1622, and we're trying to get it done by October because that's when the judge is going to move in. So all that information. Oh, and that it's by the court's design guide, per the court's design guide. So obviously, you're not all the courts on this call. Whatever design guides or restrictions or programs of requirements that you have, please cite all of that in there. Upload any documents that are pertinent. Okay, so again, no work request number here, no information. What I'm going to do is click save. It's going to pop up and tell you that it is in pre-planning and you haven't sent it to GSA yet. GSA doesn't know that this project exists yet. This is just for you to plan. If you want GSA to be involved, you're going to submit it. So this little pop-up message is making you confirm that you understand that you understand that GSA is not assigning anybody yet. It's fine to keep it in pre-planning. it's fine to send it to GSA right away. But we just want to make sure that you know that if you only save it and you don't submit it, we aren't working on it. We're not touching it. We might come back to you later and remind you, hey, did you mean to submit this? It's been sitting here for a really long time. Did you want us to work on it, or can we delete it? So we might follow up with you later about it, but at this point, you haven't sent it in for us to do anything. So now you've got a number. This is a very important number. I would recommend writing that down somewhere if you want to save it. You can always search later. If you know that this is in the Dirksen building in Chicago, Illinois, you'll be able to search by that information. But if you want the specific work request number, RWA number saved somewhere, recommend writing that down so you can search by that number later. All right. So this information is now saved. There's nothing else that you need to add. We filled out all the required fields. And so at this point, I want a project manager to be assigned to this. I'm going to click Submit Request. This is going to pop up to make you confirm that you know that this is not an RWA. This is just a work request. Work request means it is simply an ask for GSA to work with you to create an estimate, to explore the scope of work, and then later, if everyone decides to move forward with it, you'll attach funding and sign it then. So this is confirming that this is just a work request. This is not an RWA yet. And so there are there's no recording act stuff. There's no binding agreement. GSA is not moving forward with contracting. None of that is happening. That is later. So you're acknowledging it's not an RWA, it's just a work request. Okay, at this point, it's going to prompt you that the email has been sent to GSA for us to assign a project manager, and you can click to upload documents if you need to. So some people said, I'd like to know how to upload documents, so let's look at that right now. So it tells you, click on the yellow documentation hyperlink at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so let's go down there. Documentation. It's going to take you to this other screen, and you'll see there's already a thing in there. This work request sent to GSA is the email that already went to the project manager, or sorry, went to GSA to ask to assign a project manager, and that is saved in the file. So you can see evidence that you sent it to GSA for assignment. You can also upload new documents. So this is where you upload any document you like, keeping in mind that it's going to be shared with all of GSA. So don't upload anything sensitive, please. You would come here and click that upload document button, and then you're going to pick a doc type. So this is where it is whatever is the most appropriate. Scope of work support is probably what you're uploading at this point. This is the scope you're requesting. And oh boy, there's a lot of random things there. I'm not actually going to do it, but you would click your, actually, yes, I am. Here we go. A picture of my dog. That's perfect. So as you see, there are no restrictions on making sure that what you're uploading is a scope of work. But now that's uploaded, and it will give you the document you uploaded. So that's how you upload documents. I don't believe that there's a restriction on how many you can upload. There is a restriction on the naming convention. So if you get some sort of weird error about the name, you may need to rename the actual base document that you're uploading. Okay. Now, we just created a work request, right? That's great. What if you already had one that you liked from a previous year? Usually that's going to be severable. And you just want to make a copy. It's the same thing. You just want the same thing again. So let's look at this one right here. So if you have a scope of work or an RWA that already exists and you just want to copy it, you can come up here and say copy RWA. It's going to copy the base information. It's not going to copy the funding. It's not going to copy signature info, nothing like that. The base information from this page only. It'll put it in pre-planning status. It'll give it a new number. So it's not submitted to GSA yet, but you can save a whole new work request just by copying an old one. Pretty easy little feature. Okay. Let's double check that we've hit everything. So we're copying. We are creating a work request, pre-planning. It's unassigned. Okay. Oh, we're to the poll. All right, Eric, it's gonna be to you. I'm gonna.
Yes, it is. I'm happy to take the reins over for a second. We're going to put another poll question up, but I think the actual question on everybody's mind is, what is your good boy or girl dog's name?
That was Toby.
Toby. I think that might be the first dog picture since I've been hosting these sessions. Okay, what we really want to know, in addition, we want to know a little bit about what we have learned so far, and we want to know, in your opinion, based on what we've heard today, does my agency need to have dedicated funding set aside for a project or service before I can submit a work request in eRETA to GSA? It is a yes or no question. The poll should pop up momentarily. It has for me. If it doesn't for you, feel free to answer right in the chat just so we can get a quick pulse. I will also stress these answers are anonymous, so please answer with your best guess if you're not sure. There is no penalty for a wrong answer. There's no prize for a right answer other than self-satisfaction.
And it makes me really happy.
And that's what we're all here for today. Once again, does my agency need to have a dedicated funding set aside for a project or service before I submit a work request in eRETA to GSA? We have several hundred people who have responded overwhelmingly, Rachel. The answer I'm seeing is no. I'm just the host. You're the subject matter expert. I'm going to let you determine whether the no is the correct answer.
No is the correct answer. You do not need to have dedicated funding set aside in order to submit a work request. You do need to have dedicated funding in order to sign an RWA. But that first part, everything that I just showed you, no funding. No funding required. You don't need anything. You don't even need to have the promise of a funding. You just need to know what kind of work you want to do with the intent to potentially fund it later. Okay. We are going to get into tracking the work request and how to view the estimate. And for this, I'm going to stay in the slides just because it's got some nice arrows and it's easy to see. So the work request progress tracker. This works for new RWAs. It's going to show you who needs to take action next and what stage the work request is in. So it's going to kind of move down this little path. I like to call it the Domino's Pizza Tracker. If you've ever ordered pizza from Domino's, we're not affiliated. Believe it or not, they've not sponsored this training. So that is a nice little handy feature that works for new work requests. Edit versus read-only mode. So this is something we mentioned before. To enter edit mode, you click the little edit pencil, and to exit edit mode, you click read-only view. That is how you get into and out of editing and review it. And I am going to go back to this for that. I'm in edit mode right now. I'm going to go to read only view. Okay. And we are going to kind of move a little bit. There's the sneaky little number here. So remember, we submitted our work request that we just created to GSA, and we've been waiting on GSA to assign it. Well, surprise! GSA assigned the work request already, magically. So it's been assigned to April Dilbeck. Thanks, April. So this is one I created earlier, so the scope is just slightly a little different. Apologies for that. So we've got a new work request here. It's been assigned to a GSA individual, and now we can view the estimate that they've also linked. So before I even go into that, I want to show you the documentation again. So the documentation, you can see they've uploaded an independent government estimate. Surprise, surprise, it's still a picture of my dog. But that would be where the IGE would be. So if you want to see a detailed version of something, you can go click that information. But for the most part, the only thing you want to actually see is the summary cost estimate. So this is going to drill down to a level that is much more comprehensible. We're going to look in here. So we've got basic information, base project costs, additional costs, and the estimate summary. I'll stay on this first page. Okay, so first of all, up here we have the date it was approved, the date it's valid through, and the date it did expire. So anytime we're creating summary cost estimates, this is not going to necessarily apply to overtime utility estimates, but for a summary cost estimate for a project, when GSA approves it, it's going to be good for 90 days. After 90 days, it's going to expire. And that's not the end of everything. It's okay. All it means is that GSA needs to revalidate or re-estimate that cost before you can fund the RWA again. So if the estimate has expired, the next time that you log into the work request, once you go into edit mode, it's going to pop up and ask you, would you like GSA to re-estimate for this? Because it's been a while now, and you can just click yes. If you do that, that will prompt us to go re-estimate this project. But otherwise, it will just sit expired for a while until you tell us to take action. So we do expect that once we've estimated a project, that you move relatively quickly with funding. If you don't move quickly with funding, the estimate will expire and we will have to redo the estimate. So the estimate base information is here. This is a lot of the same information that was on your work request. Another interesting thing is the estimate range of accuracy. This is going to tell you how accurate GSA thinks the estimate is. Now, you can see that it's budgetary, so negative 17% to plus 26%. We are guessing that the final cost of this project will vary by that much. It might be 26% over this original amount. It might be 17% under this original amount. The more detailed the scope is on a project, the closer we are to completion. Obviously, the tighter this range is. So again, you can click the blue links and it'll tell you, oops, already navigated away, right here. You can click the blue links and it'll tell you what this means. So it's used to reflect the potential cost variance of the estimate versus the final cost. And we are going to go to the next tab. This is going to give you the costs associated with the project broken down into major categories. So here we've got construction, existing space alterations, we're looking at 162,000. construction contingency of 10%, design 12% of that construction cost, M&I 6% of that construction cost. Here we've got GSA shell costs on the left, tenant costs on the right. So if this were a split funded project where GSA were funding shell, you would see values in this left-hand column. Those are for GSA to pay. Costs in the right-hand column are for the customer. Two columns, GSA, customer. Okay. You'll see any kind of a TI allowance listed in here if there were a TI allowance. For most, for post-occupancy projects, you're not going to have a TI allowance. For a new build-out, you likely will. And then as you go, you can also see this little summary up here. We're going to go to the next tab. Additional project costs. These are things that usually cannot be included in the TI allowance. Move costs, security system installation, guard services, etc. We don't have any on this particular project because it's just carpet and paint and lighting. But if for some reason you wanted to include move, that's where that cost would be allocated. Based on all of that information, GSA is going to assess the RWA management fee. In the slides, I'll show you quick. In the slides, we've got a link for learning more about the RWA management fee and what that breakdown is. I'll just show you real quick. Current fee structure. It is a stepped fee structure. The percentage goes down the higher the value of the RWA. So this is the value shown here. So this is the subtotal which the fee gets applied to. That fee covers project management, contracting, contract oversight, etc. If you want to know what's in the RWA management fee, you can click the link, bring up the glossary. It'll describe a little bit more, and of course on our website. Things that are not covered under the project management fee or the RWA management fee, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and software and supplies. So those things do require direct cost, but GSA has to individually estimate for that and include it as a direct labor cost. So just keep in mind that if you have furniture on your project, it does not mean that you get zero fee applied to that. We still are required to capture the cost of our labor. It's just that it will show up as a individually estimated cost, as a direct labor cost instead of a standard fee. Okay. And finally, I want to show you what an overtime utility estimate looks like. I'm going to look for just a random one here. Oh, and I probably selected one that has no amount. Okay, I'll show you what the format looks like. Here in the other estimate type, your basic information tab is going to look the same, but the second page is going to have most of the information that you want. So for a lot of RWAs, overtime utilities, and services RWAs, you're going to have a miscellaneous cost here, and then which type of fee is applied, and a scope of work in the services provided field. The rest of the tabs are very detailed estimating for overtime utilities that is at a level of detail likely more than you would ever want to dig into. If you do, it's there for your reference. Otherwise, over at the right-hand side here, you can see a summary of those costs. Again, this one's 0. I apologize that I clicked on one of those. But then you'll have that whole breakdown there. Okay. And one extra thing, overtime utilities. You can see the period of performance on the estimate. You want to check that when you are working on an overtime utilities or services RWA with GSA. The period of performance, the estimated start and estimated end, is a very integral part of the scope of work for those. That is when your service starts and when your service ends. All right. I think we have cleared all of that. Okay. Let's go back to our RWA that was already estimated for us and talk about submitting funding. All right. I'm going to ask you guys in the chat, not the Q&A, in the chat, how do I get into edit mode? How do I edit this RWA? Can someone tell me? Click on the pencil icon. Yes, that is exactly the right answer. It's up here in the corner. It's this little yellow pencil that says edit. That is how you get into edit mode. So I want to edit it. So I'm going to click edit. And potentially our number one question. That's how you edit. So again, we've got this base information, but that's it. So we're going to save and proceed. It's going to go to the next screen, billing information. Billing information screen is going to give you an opportunity to enter your BOAC and ALC. And surprise, surprise, I told you we'd have a little preview of the G-invoicing information, a GT&C number. GT&C is the 7600A, for those of you who know what that is. GT&Cs with GSA for the RWA program have not really been established yet. We are waiting on a biz app to be developed with Treasury, the whole thing. But we will begin developing those with you soon. And so we hope to roll out our version of this improvement sooner than later to allow you to begin entering GT&C numbers and kind of get used to the idea of doing it without penalty, because we will be able to kind of backtrack and undo things and do it all as IPAC or non-IPAC if we need to. But it is coming, so you'll be able to select a billing type that's either non-IPAC, IPAC, or G-invoicing. So in the future, if you were to select G-invoicing, it would force you, it's loading right now, but it would force you, and see a little asterisk showed up, to enter a GT&C number. If you're not ready for that, if you haven't established a GT&C with GSA yet, or you're simply not integrated with G-invoicing in any way, you can follow the old method, non-IPAC or IPAC. So here we are with the court's information. We're going to select non-IPAC for those guys and enter a BOAC. So I don't know what my BOAC is. I have no idea. So we're going to enter or click that little magnifying glass, which will bring up this drill down search. It's going to automatically fill out the agency bureau code. If that's all you want to search with, you can just click search. It's going to give you a big list, 253 records. If you want to narrow that more, you can enter more information, or you can simply scroll through it all. I'm just going to click the first one in the list. And there we go. Also, if you have favorites, you can mark things as favorites. So you may have noticed, I'm going to clear this out and do the search again. Some of these things have little yellow stars next to them. If you have one that you like and you use it a lot, you can star it. And what that's going to do is make it available here so that you don't even have to do the search. You can just click from your little pick list And there it is. Makes it super simple. All right, so entering those two pieces of information here and the amount. This is where you confirm the entire amount. It's going to show you the estimate total. You have to put in the same amount. If the estimate is not approved, it's going to let you know that the estimate hasn't been approved yet. That might be a key for you to have a conversation with your project manager. Once the estimate is approved, you can put in that amount. If you don't match by the required amount, I'm going to show you. It's got to match. It's easiest to just copy paste. And if it's not red, then it's good. If you need to enter additional information, you can always enter a billing contact here. So if you want somebody else to be copied on some of the billing information, FPDS codes are currently optional. They are going to become required. If you don't know what FPDS is, you will likely learn soon. So your agency funding code and your office code, those are for reporting to FPDS. Customer order number is defaulted to just be the RWA number, but you can put in whatever you want. Station number, requisition ID. Again, you can click the glossary definitions to figure out what that is. And this one would tell you this one's only for IRS. I'm going to save and proceed. Accounting. This is where you are going to enter your accounting information. So we're going to click Add. And we recommend that you start with the Treasury account symbol. This screen looks a little bit different now than it does in the real life version because Treasury account symbol in our current live version is not actually on top. We've moved it on top so that you know it's just easier to start with that Treasury account symbol, because if you enter that first, it's gonna fill out the rest of the information. So I'm gonna show you really quick in the slides. Skipping past all the things. Oh, I missed that stuff. We'll come back to that. So in the current version of the system, it looks like this. So the Treasury account symbol is over here on the right. If you start with that, it will autofill most of the other information. So we highly recommend you do the Treasury account symbol first. Okay, I'm gonna go back to here to show you how to do that. So we're gonna click search. And here it's got a lot of words. It's a lot of words. And unfortunately, it also means that when you search for something, it's going to show up below all those words. So you don't actually realize that you have searched, but you just got to scroll. So key here, click search, and then please scroll down because it is there, even though it might not look like it. So those words tell you about the format. Treasury requires very specific formatting in the Treasury account symbol. So if you are trying to enter the information yourself and it just keeps rejecting, it keeps saying that this TAS doesn't exist, it's probably because of the format. Because there's, for example, if you have know your funding, it has 8 empty spaces, which is a little annoying. And I'm sorry, this is kind of small. I'm going to zoom in. Bear with me. Boop. Okay. So here, Treasury account symbol information, it brings up all the available Treasury account symbols, and you can select from them, and just like before, you can favorite them. So if you know you have a favorite, you can just click on that favorite. I'll favorite a couple of these. I'll select this first one. Now selecting that first one is a little, this one's not so good. So you can see that the agency fund year is 2020. If you attend our RWA policy and process training, you'll learn why that's maybe not that great for a new RWA. So I'm going to look again. I'm going to do a different search. I am going to clear this out, and I'm going to look for funding, which is available from 2026 and beyond, because I want current year funding. Okay, there we go. There is some valid funding for the current fiscal year. Now we've got our treasury account symbol entered. It's filling out that it's an annual 2026 fund. The expiration of obligational authority is on 9/30/2026. So now we can enter how much we want authorized to this line. You could do the full amount. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just going to enter anything I want here. So you can do the full amount, and this amount always need to match. So this is the agency certified amount from the billing information tab. This is the authorized line amount from the sum of all these lines. There's only one line, so it's kind of easy. I'm going to mix it up. Let's say I only actually want $100,000 on this first line. So now the total of the RWA is 233, but I only have $100,000. So eventually, and I'll show you later, this is going to give me an error. But for now, I can see that they don't match. So I'm going to add another line. I'm going to look for another treasury account symbol that starts in 2026. And I am selecting very random amounts, by the way. So please, or random treasury account symbols. Agency accounting data. Since we're here, this is the info that you enter that helps you. We don't have any guidance for this. You'll see there's no glossary definition for the agency accounting data. We don't know what you would want, but I can tell you and show you how it helps. So when you enter your agency accounting data, and this is just showing where it is on an accepted RWA, that agency accounting data, it is going to show up on your billing information. So this is a bill from GSA, and it has the agency accounting data here. So if there is something helpful to show up on your bill that you want to be able to know something, anything you want, I would recommend putting that in that agency accounting data field because it will show up on your bill here. Okay, it's coming back. Save this. You can see I've put in $100,000 and then the remaining amount here. So those two values now match. So that will be good to go. I'm going to save and proceed. This is where you would enter your certifying official, fund certifying official. It might be you, it might not be you. Whoever it is should be someone with the authority to sign for your agency. GSA does not police that information. That is your responsibility to ensure that whoever is signing on behalf of your agency to certify that funding is valid and available has that authority to sign by your own agency's standards. When you enter a name, it is going to put in their email information and basic info, and it will eventually send them an email through DocuSign. So whoever is signing is not signing in eRETA. So let me say it a different way. If you or your signing official needs to sign, they don't do it in eRETA. You do not need an eRETA account in order to sign an RWA. You do not need an eRETA account in order to sign an RWA because signatures happen through DocuSign. So they happen via email. So you're going to put in an email address. So this email address should be right. Hopefully it's right. And and this is a feature I haven't shown you quite yet, is add new. So if for some reason you're looking through this list and your signing official is not in there, you're going to add new. So we're going to do a search. It's going to open a pop-up, and it's going to allow you to add information. I'm going to add myself. And I already have information here. If I didn't exist yet, if I didn't have a profile in the system, it would ask for all of my information to be filled out. Then I would enter all the information for my signing official and click update. And now that'll have all that information there. Okay. So at this point, you can save it. If you just want to save it, you can just save it. But if you're ready to do it, you can send to GSA. So the difference between saving and sending to GSA is GSA is going to take action. So if you're ready for GSA to start working on this and getting it routed for approval, if you're ready for this person to receive this RWA and sign the funding, sign for that funding, you would send it to GSA. We're going to do that. So we didn't encounter any issues. There were no errors, but I will go over what some of those errors are with you in a moment. So this is going to tell you the fund certifying official has been capped, their email has been captured, and they're going to digitally sign once GSA finishes entering our information. Manual signatures are not for you guys. Those are basically only for non-federal customers. So after you send it to GSA, we still need to fill out the rest of this information here, the PBS information, authorizing details in the PBS approval tab. We need to upload data to eRETA with our detailed estimate, detailed scope. We need to do a bunch of reviews and authorize that we can take it, make sure that your funding is correct, etc. Once we have done all of that, then we will route it for signature. So between you clicking that button and us routing it for signature, there will be a wait. That's not an instantaneous thing. So if you think that as soon as I click this button, my signing official is going to get something to sign, that is not the case. It's going to take a bit. Okay. Let's go back to the slides and see where we're at. Talked about bills. Talked about multiple funding sources. I did not talk about the primary line to bill. So as of last August, we added a feature to our financial systems to allow multiple line billing. So on RWAs accepted since sometime in last August, we are billing according to the fund that is being used on the RWA, sometimes multiple funds. So if we are using some of this fund and some of this fund, we will send you a bill for both of them at the same time, which is great. And that is necessary in order for us to move forward with the G-invoicing integration. For older RWAs, we will still only have a primary line to bill. So if for whatever reason you want us to bill a different line, so GSA will only bill one line at a time. If you want us to bill a different line, you'll have to submit an amendment to it, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. We'll get into amendments here in a minute. So just know that this has changed a little bit, and you can see information here for help with all of that. And eventually, when the RWA is accepted, it'll tell you whether or not it's going to be billing all accounting lines or if it will only bill the singular line to bill after it is accepted as an RWA. We went through Treasury account symbols. We talked about how to search. Talked about favorites and marking them as starred. Now we're going to look at common errors. We didn't encounter any of these when we submitted, but I will show you how they happen. If for some reason you don't match the amount, So you saw me show how that would be red or black. It's going to be red when it doesn't match. So if it doesn't match, you're going to get an error when you try to submit that to GSA. So it'll say RWA/estimate, the mismatching amount warning. Either the amount on the estimate is not within $1 of the agency certified amount on the billing information tab. Again, here, have to be at least $1. Or the agency certified amount on the billing information tab does not equal the sum of the lines on the accounting details tab. So that was, forgive me as I flash back here. Here, these two amounts have to match. So you have to get all your different accounting lines to match the total, and you have to get the billing information amount to match the total of GSA's estimate. And close your eyes for a second while I go forward again. Okay. If either of those things don't match, please go correct them, and then you can submit your RWA to GSA. If for some reason you don't agree with the amount, if you think that it should have been a different amount, then that's a conversation you need to have with your project manager. If the estimate is not approved, so this is one where GSA maybe created an estimate and you were working with them for a while and now the estimate has expired, for example, and you go to submit your funding, but the estimate has now expired, so it's not technically approved anymore. It's going to stop you. It's going to say, you can't submit this work request RWA until GSA has approved the estimate. Please work with your GSA PM POC to get them to approve the estimate. So it means that either we never approved it in the first place, or it's since expired and it needs to be redone. Another error you might encounter is for changes to the RWA period of performance. So this is more of a warning than a true error. But if you are working on a severable RWA and you are changing the requested period of performance, the requested service period, it is not necessarily going to change the period of performance on the RWA itself. You still have to work with the project manager to get the official period of performance updated. So you're possibly requesting that GSA change the period of performance, but only GSA can actually change the period of performance because we have to redo the estimate. So if your period of performance has been modified, it will affect the value of the estimate. Okay, those are the most common errors in the system. Signing the RWA. I have mentioned before that the fund certifying official is not doing it in eRETA directly. They are doing it via email. So if you're on this screen, you've sent it to GSA, they're going to get an email from DocuSign. That email looks something like this. Obviously, it's not going to say test, 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 but it will have the RWA number in there, and it'll have a location and the version of the email that's being sent. So if it's being rerouted for signature multiple times, that last number is going to change. So that's what the subject line looks like. It's going to look like this, where the person getting the email would click this button that's review document. If for some reason you or your signing official has not received the email, it's possible that it has gone to spam. It's also possible that your agency is blocking those emails because they come from one of these email addresses. Usually it's from dss@docusign.gsa.gov, but sometimes it comes from a .net email address, and your agency may look at that as something to get caught in their firewall. So if you see one of those in your spam box, You can mark it as not spam. You can also add those email addresses to your contact, your trusted contacts, in order to not have them marked as spam in the future. To actually digitally sign the RWA, it is simple. Once you click that button, or once your signature signing fund certifying official clicks that button to review, you can click start and click on the sign button here. It'll copy down all the information and just click finish, and that'll route it off to GSA to sign. If for some reason you need to make changes to the RWA, if your fund certifying official comes in here and looks at this and goes, what? We can't use that treasury account symbol. That's not for that kind of a project, or, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was that expensive. You can decline to sign. So over in what you can't see right now, there's another option where you can click the little drop down and decline to sign the RWA. It's going to ask for a reason, and it will revert the RWA to pending status. So if you need to continue to make changes, please decline to sign. And Eric, we're at another poll question.
Yes, we certainly are. So thank you very much. This is another relatively simple question. It is a yes or a no answer. We want to know, do you need an eRETA user ID to digitally sign an RWA? We will have the poll pop up here in a moment, and you can answer yes or no. Earlier, I did say that these are all anonymous. There's no shame in a wrong answer, and the prize for a right answer is that you will make Rachel happy. I will note that Rachel stopped this presentation several times to address this question. I knew it was coming. I hope you paid attention to it as well. So we want to know a simple yes or no. Do you need an eRETA user ID to digitally sign an RWA? And I am seeing that the results are coming in here. And it looks to me like we have overwhelmingly that people are saying no, but we do have a small group of folks who are saying yes. So I will ask you once again, Rachel, as the subject matter expert, a majority say the correct answer is no. Is the correct answer no?
The correct answer is no. You do not need an eRETA user ID or an eRETA account to be able to digitally sign an RWA, because digital signatures happen via email through a program called DocuSign. So when the person who does have an eRETA account and is entering information into eRETA enters the email address of the fund certifying official, that fund certifying official will receive an email, and they sign it via email. All right. Amendment, the part that you guys were waiting for, and we've added a little extra time to this particular session. It used to be an hour and a half, but we have lots of nice time to address amendments now. Okay, so first of all, statuses. Statuses in RETA, I showed you an earlier slide that had all the normal new work request and RWA statuses. Some of these are the same here, some of them are different. So if the status is accepted, that's just an RWA that's being worked on. So it's accepted and the work is being executed. If you want to modify an RWA, and we'll show you how in just a minute, you start doing that. It is mod initiated. So you have initiated a modification. The next step that you would take as a customer is to send that modified work request, well, RWA, GSA, by clicking send to GSA. So if it's mod initiated, GSA actually can't edit it at all in that status. We can't touch it. So you have all responsibility at that point to get it out of that status. So once you start editing, we are locked out from being able to edit. You have to send it to us. Once you send it to us, it's in this little holding status called mod requested. where GSA is looking at it going, are these changes okay? Is this all right that they're doing this? And then we will look at that and click either accept or reject those changes. It is not an acceptance or rejection of the RWA itself. It's more an acceptance or rejection of changes to those fields, and then GSA will continue editing with whatever other information we need to add to our subsequent tabs. Once you have sent it to GSA, it's on GSA's plate. We will review the requested changes and click Accept Customer Amendment, which will then move it into pending mod status. So this is where GSA is going to enter GSA-related information. And then it follows the same path. We go into signature requested, where you sign it first, then GSA signs it, and then we send you an acceptance letter, and it is formally accepted. Amendment types. There are a few common amendment types down here. So e-input code, that is going to limit what you are allowed to change. It's going to only open up some fields for editing, because at the end of it, you get to just submit it. It's just done. It's just saved. There's no need for signatures. Nobody has to get an email to sign anything. GSA doesn't even get involved. You just save it all into the system. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. X input code is an amount or scope change. So that's a big change. That's where we have redone the estimate, or you are looking for a significant change to the scope where you're asking for more work, or you're reducing the scope, something like that. H input code is a billing information change. So if you need to change your BOAC, or perhaps the agency billing contact, customer order number, that would be an H input code change. N input code would be cancellation or early completion. So GSA will work to complete RWAs normally, and we will apply completion dates when the work is completed. However, if you would like to cancel the project or end the project early before GSA has actually finished all the work, you can request an N input code amendment. So that would request that GSA halt the project or service. You're going to do an amendment anytime you need to correct information, you need to add funding, or you need to cancel. What is editable? You can see this is just a snippet. So this is not the whole thing, but we've got a link here for the different input codes and what you are able to modify under each one. So you can see that later. Easiest amendments, the e-input code. These are the ones where you are changing something administrative. Maybe you're updating who your contact is. Maybe your project manager left and you need to change who's getting the emails. Or maybe you're updating the line to bill. So we mentioned this earlier. If you need to change which line GSA bills on an older RWA now, you can go in, enter an e-input code, change the line to bill, click Save and Proceed, and submit to Pegasus. So this is a very important step. Excuse me. Submit to Pegasus, and I know that's a very funny word, Pegasus. It's the name of our accounting system, and I would really love to change the name of that button someday. But for now, it is the same, and it is Submit to Pegasus. And so when you do that, that just means that you're saving it to GSA's financial system, and so it's going to automatically send that over, and we will begin billing to that line on the next bill. So if you only hit save, we don't know yet. So until you've finalized it and submit to Pegasus, that's when we actually start. So if you start an amendment and then you leave halfway through, it'll be in that mod initiated status and we won't be able to touch it. So you need to either submit to GSA or submit to Pegasus every time. If you leave it hanging, we will probably follow up with you at some point and say, hey, it seems like you were modifying something. What do you need to do? Are you going to finish that up? Or it may be that we've got some sort of emergency edit to do on our own, and we will have to delete your changes. So if you've left it hanging out there for a while and you have not submitted those changes to GSA, we may have to delete your pending modification to return it to the last accepted value in order to make the changes that we need to make. So please don't leave modifications hanging. Please submit them either by submitting to Pegasus or sending them to GSA. X input code. If you're updating the value on the RWA, you need to do it in two places. First, the billing information tab, where you change it to match the new estimate amount. And second, on that accounting details tab, to make all your lines match up with the same amount. So you're going to add a new line if you need to, or you're going to edit a line, or you're going to delete a line, and you're going to change those amounts there as well. So two places, billing information tab and the accounting details tab. If you are simply modifying the existing line, you can edit it and you can just change the value. If you need to change something about that treasury account symbol, or you need to change the accounting data, you can add a second line. Okay. Once you are ready to send it to GSA, so if it's not an administrative change, it's going to give you a before and after screen. So it'll say, here's who it was before, here's who it is after, here's the scope before, here's the scope after, here's what it said before, here's what it says after. So you can see everything that's changing, and then you would hit send to GSA. So again, important, don't leave things hanging, please. Submit to GSA. Okay. I'm gonna go through this just a little to reiterate since we have got time. I'm gonna look for an accepted RWA, and I'm still in our test system, and hopefully I'm still logged in. Yeah, excellent. I'm gonna find an accepted RWA, and I am going to look to modify it. So how do I edit? Edit button. And now here's another part where some people get stuck. I clicked the edit button, but I can't seem to edit anything. It's all grayed out. Everything's grayed out. I can't even click because you need to select that input code first. The first thing you need to do is pick one of those changes. So if we're just doing an administrative input code, I'll show you what things are available. So I clicked apply. Now I can change some things. I can't change the address, for example, because that's pretty important. I can change the room. I can change my POC. I cannot change the scope of work because that is not an administrative change. I can go to different tabs. I can change some of the information here. Cannot change who is signing it. If you picked the wrong amendment type, if you clicked that first one and you're going, wait a second, I can't actually edit what I wanted to, then you can come back to summary and change it. And if you've already changed something, let me show you what it looks like. So let's say I've changed person, me. I'm gonna hit save and proceed. So if now I've actually made a change that makes an impact, let's say I exit. I'm naughty and I didn't actually submit it. I just left it hanging. So now the mod initiated status in GSA can't edit it. Ah! Okay, I can come back in here. It says it's being edited. I can come back in to edit mode, and it's going to show me this. Continue editing the pending RWA, click the appropriate tabs, or click the delete button to cancel this pending change. So if you selected e-input code and you're like, wait a second, but I needed to change the amount. It's not working. I can't edit anything. Come back to summary and delete. It's okay. It's okay to delete a pending modification. What it'll do is it will delete anything that you have modified since the last accepted version of the RWA. So if you've changed a lot of stuff, yes, you would lose those changes, but if you can't change what you need to, then you're going to have to delete the pending mod. So I want to change the amount. I'm going to click apply on this X input code amount scope change. And now you'll see that more information is opened up. I can actually change this amount here. I'll be able to add new accounting lines here. All right. So that brings us to our contacts or help page. I hope I've hit enough on amendments. And if for some reason there's some really good questions in the Q&A, I'm hoping our team will bring it up. Additional resources. We've said it a few times. gsa.gov/eRETA is all the things eRETA. It's got training materials. It's got quick reference guides. I'm going to show you actually what that even looks like. Because it's so simple. Training materials here. User guides, submitting a work request. It has the most detailed instructions, even better than what I went through today. It's got a screenshot for every single part. It's got it all written out. The only thing it doesn't have is me talking, but it's got everything in there. So if you have questions, you can open this document, do a quick word search, you'll probably find it. If that doesn't work, and you have questions about the system, you can email eRETA@gsa.gov. It's a fantastic way to get an answer quick. Our help desk is available with our subject matter experts, and we are pretty responsive to that. And if that doesn't answer your question because it's something related to policy or process, we have that same information, same website with gsa.gov/RWA with all our policy, and likewise, ask RWA at gsa.gov. So a website for it and an email for both things. And then if you do have a specific question on an RWA project or a service, like how much is left on my RWA, how do I change or what is included in my scope of work, or when is construction going to start, stuff like that, you would contact the project manager or POC listed on the RWA, or you can contact our RWA manager if for some reason you can't get a hold of your PM POC. Okay. We've got another
we have
poll.
one more poll question here. I'm happy to take the baton from you for this one. If your pop-up should show soon, but we want to know, as a result of today's session, how much more comfortable are you using eRETA? Are you much more comfortable, somewhat more comfortable, or you need a little bit more help? All right, we've got the answers rolling in here. Give it just a few more seconds. We want to know, are you much more comfortable, somewhat more comfortable, or you still need a little bit more training? All right, so we're going to end the poll, and I'm happy to say that by a large margin, most of the folks who are on the call with us today are either much more comfortable or somewhat more comfortable. There is a small percentage here that says they do want a little bit more training, and we've got good news for you. Rachel just went over all of the resources that are available on our website, www.gsa.gov/eRETA, for this specific topic. And we also host this session more than once a year, and we do post the most recent video to our website, www.gsa.gov/CES. And so after this session, you will also be receiving a link to that so that you can retake and fast forward or rewind or pause on this session however and whenever you wish. And then I am noting on the bottom of the slide, if there is something in particular that you want to learn a little bit more about, like I said, we adjust this when we do it multiple times a year. So just put something in the chat if there's a topic you want us to spend a little more time on or a little bit more focus. We have go to the next slide here, and I want to talk a little bit about the Project Pulse survey. And I also want to know if you are a customer of ours and you are in the audience today and you have received a Project Pulse survey, just say me in the chat because I'm just curious. The Project Pulse survey, it's a short online customer satisfaction that we send to customer POCs monthly for project specific milestones. We have noted here that it will come from Project Survey at research.gsa.gov, usually with the subject line, how did GSA do? We ask just a couple of quick questions to understand how our performance is on RWA and leasing projects at multiple milestones throughout the project. And we take that information, consider it best practices, look for trends. I am seeing some folks say me, me, me. That makes me very happy. It means we have a great audience for this session here. So if you are listed as that project point of contact for your organization, you might be getting a Project Pulse survey in the near future. So please be on the lookout for that. And please, please, please respond to it. It takes just a few moments, and it really helps us fine tune our project management practices moving forward. All right, we will skip on. So we have just a few moments left here. There has been a robust Q&A, I know, going on behind the scenes. So I will thank now all of the eRETA experts who have been answering those questions. As long as I am talking for the remainder of this session, if you put a question in the Q&A, it will either be answered by one of our subject matter experts, or we will be able to pull it out after the fact and answer it. And since we have been answering these questions in this eRETA Digest session multiple times a year for several years, we have a very large rolling FAQ document that we are happy to add to. I will pause a moment, and if any of our eRETA experts behind the scenes have anything they want to pull out or they want Rachel to specifically talk about, now is the chance. Otherwise, we can continue forward. Someone once told me to wait 7 seconds, Rachel, so I'm just going to look at you and you can look at me until it's time. All right, so like I said, we will export all of the Q&A, those we got to, those we didn't get to, provide written responses to them, incorporate them into our much larger FAQ document, and make that available after the fact. That's always available on our website, www.gsa.gov/CES, as well as the eRETA team's website, www.gsa.gov/eRETA. And we are bringing it down to the final slide in the end of our presentation. First, I want a huge round of applause from everybody for Rachel for leading this presentation. As she noted, this has expanded from 90 to 120 minutes. So we thank you for your time, for your expertise. And we thank all of our audience members as well, all of the customers who are with us today for participating with us. And if you were in the Q&A, you know there are a lot of eRETA experts, subject matter experts, and Client Enrichment Series team members behind the scenes. So thank you to all of them for making this a very engaging and hopefully very informative session. As we have mentioned, if you've joined us for Client Enrichment Series past, we are back doing these sessions just about monthly. We have several sessions that we are looking to book the actual dates for, and we should have registration links up very soon for things including GSA's location planning, RWA policy and process we announced earlier today will be Wednesday, June 3rd. So if you want to come back for the sibling presentation to this, we will send out an email when the registration is up. We will have an update on GSA's water quality management program, another one we've run in the past, and an updated leasing 101. If you are attending this, you are automatically added to our Client Enrichment Series mailing list. So if you have not been getting information about the Client Enrichment Series, you soon will. And we will send out registration links and announcements when everything is up and ready for you. So I want to thank Rachel. I want to thank the RWA and eRETA team, all of the CES team members working behind the scenes, and every single one of you, more than 300 customer points contact who were in the audience and in attendance today. For more information, you can always go to www.gsa.gov/CES. For eRETA information, you can always go to www.gsa.gov/eRETA, ERETA. And I just want to remind everybody, the goal of the Client Enrichment Series is to engage our audience in workplace topics that contribute to your mission success and to the effective management of your real estate and workplace programs. One more time, thank you all very much for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.